Hello, and welcome to the Notary News Channel, where we discuss all things notary and some things not. My name is Desiree Roman Rodriguez, and I'm a subject matter expert on all things notary in the state of Illinois. I'm also an enrolled agent credentialed by the Internal Revenue Service to prepare taxes and to represent taxpayers before the IRS all the way up through the U.S. Tax Court. In this session, we are going to talk about how to figure out what fees to charge for your notary, signing agent, or other small business. Very often, one of the biggest questions that people ask is, what should I charge for my notary fees? And people are usually reluctant to give someone an answer because it's always going to be based on what your area can support as far as the fees that you charge and what the expenses are going to be relative to you. I have put together a spreadsheet that gives you basic information on how to at least get a general idea on what kind of fees you should be charging for your services. And this spreadsheet would be customizable if you know what the costs are associated where you are. So we're going to jump right in and take a look at this spreadsheet. It is in the form of a presentation, but it's just a one single page document, and it is done in Excel. So this actually is a PDF, so you're not really going to be able to look at how the calculations work and how the tabulations work. But if you would like to receive a copy of this spreadsheet so that you can input the calculations yourself, then you will get a true picture of what it costs for you to be in business and get an idea of the fees that you should be charging. So let's take a look at this spreadsheet, and you'll see here. And again, this is put together courtesy of Roman Endeavors Inc., and that's the company that I run. And it can be used to estimate your hourly expenses. It drills down all the way to your hourly cost. Now, the expenses listed here are just the average expenses that you would incur as a notary or a signing agent. Obviously, if you're a small business owner, these numbers, these expense descriptions would be different. And if there are other costs associated, you could include them here on the lines that say other, or you can just change the line item if you don't have the expense or the cost in this area here in the second column, you would then change to zero. So for example, I don't have a car payment and my computer's been paid off for a few years now. So in that section, my cost at this point in time to determine my fees would be zero. So, but this is a great tool to use when you're just starting out. You have all these expenses up front and you want to be able to calculate what is going to be the very bottom dollar that you can earn to at least break even. And then anything above that is what you would use to live on and pay your bills and buy your groceries and, take care of your family and your needs. So taking a look here, you'll see it's broken down by the costs associated with each of the expense and then in the term of years. So this was based on what those costs are for me in the state of Illinois. So here you'll see it's in terms of 4 years, what the cost is for a notary commission. The term is in 4 years for what I would pay for error and omissions and insurance and a bond. And then the rest are either 1 year, and then the computer and laptop I put in there as what the cost if I bought it new today, what it would cost me over the next, if I kept it over the next 4 years. So then that further drills down to what the yearly cost of those expenses would be, then broken down again to what the monthly cost would be, and then broken down to weekly cost, and then further down to the daily cost. So, and then from the daily cost, we end up getting the hourly cost. So in this scenario, here, which of course it's just in this example here, it's cost $12,295 are the costs that I would have put up for starting this business. And the yearly cost of this spread out based on the year and term in years that I have here is $11,417. So that right there, that lets you know you need to earn a minimum of $11,417.50 just to break even. Okay. Then the monthly cost further drills down to $951. So let's say you're making $5,000 a month. Right away, just to break even, you roughly need to deduct $1,000 of that, which means on earnings of $5,000, you're only having a $4,000. Okay. And then your weekly cost, what it costs for working 6 days a week. Now, this is factored in as 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday. And obviously, if you are going to adjust the weekly cost to only working 5 days a week, these expenses would increase. It would be higher per day. And then the daily cost based on the 6 days a week and working 8 hours a day, this is what the cost would be for those days. And then working an 8-hour day, these would be the costs that it would cost per hour in order for you to do your business. So these numbers is the basis for starting to determine what you need to charge for your notary fees. The second half of this spreadsheet is going to be your earnings. And in this scenario, I have included an estimate of an average of 3 closings per day, working 6-hour days for 6 days a week. So the average time per closing calculated in this spreadsheet is 2 hours per closing. And so I've run the scenarios here. If you were getting paid $150 per closing, you would earn $450 a day, working 6 hours a day for 6 days a week. So your fees earned per hour minus what your hourly expenses would amount to, then gives you your hourly earnings. Then that's going to show you what the fee is that you're earning for a 6-day week. So that $16.29 is what you would earn in 1 week, making $150 a closing, 3 closings a day for 6 days a week. And so here you'll see I've based this calculation on 48 weeks out of a 52-week year, assuming that you're going to at least want to take 2 weeks vacation and there's at least 2 weeks that you're not going to be able to work. Or even if you don't take vacation, the Sundays add up to at least 2 weeks, and, holidays and days that you can't work at least will add up to those many weeks. So $78,221, that would be the amount of income you would earn over the year. Now, I've also included these extra columns to let you know true costs. So your self-employment tax is based on 15.3% on this earnings. Just based on our first scenario, that is the amount of self-employment tax you would have to pay. And then using 12% as the basis for average estimating the tax on that $78,000 is reflected here in the first column. And then minus all of those taxes, the estimated yearly earnings is reflected here, the $56,000 and change. And so your estimated quarterly payments would amount to the figure that you see there. Now, again, these are estimate. So this total figure would fluctuate as far as what would become taxable, because your deductions could reduce the taxable amount. And obviously, I can't speak to what credits each taxpayer receives. So this is going to be just a guideline to be able to show you. So if you are accepting closings at $75 a closing and you do 3 closings a week, 6 days a week at $75, then you can see here along this spreadsheet, exactly what your earnings would be, what your taxes are, and, and then you can know how then to set your fees. So in this scenario, this is an average of 18 closings a week. So even if you're doing the 18 closings a week at an average of $75 a closing, your overall income at the end of the year ends up being just over $13,000. So you want to be able to make sure if you want to earn more money than that, then you are going to have to charge more than $75 for your business fees. So that's going to be all that we have for this week. If you'd like to receive a copy of the spreadsheet so that you can figure out what the expenses are and what are the minimum fees you should charge in your area, send us an email to info@romanendeavors.com, and in the subject include how to calculate notary fees, and we'll be happy to send that out to you. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a great day.